Now once we've added a new TGA object to our APCD, we have the ability to edit it. We can't edit the stock images, so if we wanted to change the colour of a tree from the stock images, the first thing we'd have to do is extract it using the method I discussed in previous videos, and then add it again as a new object. In that way we'll then be able to edit the object. So I'm just going to change this pink flower that we added last video and show you how to edit and then add it back in again. So I'm going to go to Photoshop, and we need to browse to our TGA folder. So find object TGAs, and what you'll find is when you've added an object, a new TGA has been created, and it's got an extra extension which has the number and the type of the object. So it's now saying flowers 242 at the end, and this is the TGA we need to edit. It's really handy that it does this because it means we've always got a copy of the original. If we need to go back, we can just take the original one, rename it to this extension, and we'll be back where we started. So I'm going to add this in, and one of the simplest things that you can do with editing is just changing colours. So I'm just going to change the colours of these flowers. So I'm going to go to Image Adjustment, Hue Saturation, and I'll select maybe the magenta might do the whole thing, I don't know, I might need to select the red as well. But if I just hue shift, I can shift the magenta towards the blue. I now select the red as well, I could shift the red to the blue as well, and I've created blue flowers. A bit of pinky colour there, but by a bit of tweaking these sliders I could get rid of that, but for now I'm not going to bother, that'll do. And all I have to do now is just save it back over itself. So just click Save, and now I need to update this image in the APCD. So first thing we need to do, go to Planting and into the Object Library, and we can update this either from the Planting Set screen or from the Object screen. So I'll just update it from the Planting Set for now. But what you have to make sure, if you do use the Planting Set, you'll see it's already selected because it was the last thing I planted, but there's also animals naught that's selected here. So we need to just click on somewhere else and then back on the one we want, and that will turn every other one off, so nothing else is selected, because we don't want to update the images here, it can cause problems. So by clicking off and then back onto the one we want, we'll guarantee only this one's selected. And if we look back up at our icons where we imported, a bit further along there's an Update Library Images, and all we have to do is click on this, select Update Currently Selected Images, and OK. And this will now have updated the image in the library. So now we've got our updated image, which has got these blue flowers mixed in with the magenta rather than the pink. But they haven't changed on the screen here, you'll notice, because although we've updated from now on, we've updated this flower, these were planted before the update, so we have to update these as well. So what you'll find is, if I click Close, it'll automatically flick back to the default first type again. If I go back to the flowers, we'll see it's changed in here, It's much darker, it's bluer, but it hasn't yet changed in here. So all we have to do now, while it's selected, is click update, update currently selected images, and that will update it on our course, and voila, all the flowers have gone blue and purple. And changing colours is quite important. I mean, it's quite handy, obviously, for creating different coloured flowers without having to cut out completely new flowers. You can use ones that you've already got and just tweak them to be different colours, and they'll look very different then. But also, quite often you'll need to tweak the colours of trees and grasses to make them blend in correctly with your textures. What you find with a lot of the stock trees are they're very undersaturated. There's not a lot of colour to them. So if you're using quite vibrant coloured textures, you'll really need to increase the colour saturation of the trees and grasses you're using as well. So that's always useful to know how to do that. If I go back to Photoshop, another thing that's quite useful to do when you're editing, so a little bit more complicated than just changing colours, is we can actually trim off parts of the object that we don't want pretty easily. This is a good idea with trees because you really don't want anything unique like a strange shaped branch sticking out. If you imagine this flower here was a branch of a tree and it's sticking out on one side, with one tree it will look fine. The trouble is you're going to be planting forests and using the same tree again and again all around your course, and if it's got a very unique feature, the eye will be drawn to that feature and you'll just spot it as a clone and think, well, there's 6 of them all the same there. So the more generic you can make your objects look, if you're going to forest plant them, the better. So it's best to have nice symmetrical regular shaped trees that won't catch the eye, and then you can forest plant them and nobody will really notice that it's the same tree over and over again. So the way to do this, if there is any funny shaped bits sticking out, if you just mask around it, get a black brush, you can paint it out. You need to then just switch over to the alpha channel and do the same, black brush, paint it out there, and that will get rid of it. Remember, black is transparent, white is opaque in the alpha channel. So if I just save that, and again go back to our plants, if I can get a bit closer, quite hard to see the little flower at the bottom, there he is. So if I again go into Object Library, click off the one I want, back on it again, update image, update currently selected image, OK, select it again in this, click update again, currently selected image, OK, and that flower's just disappeared from the bottom of the screen there. Another thing you can do, which is quite easy, is flip the whole image, which a lot of people do to make more trees. They'll just mirror the one they've got. It's still a bit noticeable though if you've got the tree next to the mirrored version of itself. You can sort of see it straight away. Well, I can, so it's not ideal, but it does create more trees if you're very short on the type of tree you want. So to do that, you just need to, where are we? Image adjustments, be in image rotation. There we go. Flip canvas horizontal, and that's flipped it right over, including the alpha channel. The alpha channel's flipped with it. It's the other way around now. But what you can do at the same time is also actually stretch the image, make it a bit thinner or fatter. So if you use image size and we turn off the constraint proportions, otherwise it won't let us change the size, we could actually stretch it wider or narrower to make a thinner or fatter plant or tree or whatever. So if I change this 438 to say 600 and click OK, it's just stretched it out and made a much fatter looking plant or tree. And this combined with the mirror flip will probably make it less likely that people will notice that you've just mirrored the tree and planted it again. And one final thing you can do is completely change the image. What you'll find is in APCD you can get rid of plants from your planting set, but in the object library, once you've added something to an object library, it's there. There's no delete command in the object library. If I go up here and try and click delete, it's just grayed out. You can't get rid of things from the object library at all. And quite often you'll end up with plants you've used them and you really don't want them anymore. So one of the best ways to get rid of them is actually change them into something else. So just load in a completely different image. Obviously, if it's in flowers, you're still going to want to use a flower, but there's nothing to stop you using this update image, loading a completely different image of another flower, and just using the same number. So you'd just save the image exactly the same. This image is called pink flower 1 underscore flowers 242. You just put a new image in and save it as that, pink flower 1 flowers 242. It wouldn't be very descriptive of it because it might end up being something totally different now, but it's an easy way to use rather than your object library just getting huge with stuff you're not actually using anymore. It's much better if you replace it with something that you have, and you'll keep the size of your object library down a little that way. So all you need to remember is to redo all the settings. Once you've put the plant in, you'll need to reposition the planting mark and the sizes and the dampening and everything else. If it's a tree, you'll need to reset the trunk and the top views and things like that.